I've got some nice markings that match on both sides to be able to... Oh, I was excited about this job. After all the others I've done recently on this, I thought this would be the one where I won't need to be doing any fillering.
Hello YouTubies! We are back in the Temu Max Power Ford. I'm Grant, this is the garage, the channel's called Granty's Garage. Genius, I know. Today, working on the car, we have got a spoiler. Every Max Power car needs a good spoiler, every show car. You have them for apparently downforce or something. The real reason you put a spoiler on a car is they look so cool. And typically, in line with what we do with this series, I've bought a super cheap one, the one cheapest I could afford, with a view I'm going to customise some bits of it to make it its own, match the car better, match the look of what we're going for, and knowing what I already know, which you are about to know, try and deal with some challenges that come with universal cheap parts that may or may not be completely metal. Unsure, unverified. Let's have a look at what we've got, shall we? So here's what we have. I realise I'm being not a very real YouTuber because I didn't show you me taking it out of the box. In essence, this is a very similar spoiler to the one we have on the 986. I think the guy bought this off on Facebook. He bought it, didn't want it, it didn't fit, or it didn't look how he wanted, and wanted to get rid of it. And we paid £30 for this. I think we're going to need to adjust the length of these because they're going to be too long for where we need them to go. And I'd like to think we're going to do something cool instead or alongside the end plates. And we need to have a look at measuring it up on the car. So I'll loosely possibly put it a bit together, or I'll just use those, and you'll find out in, I suppose, the next shot.
So what are some of the challenges that we face with this? First of all, this is probably made for a saloon car with an actual boot. What I actually have to play with is putting it up here. And I'm not actually necessarily wanting it to, first of all, be as tall as that. Second of all, hopefully the camera can see this. I've got no idea because it's way over there. And I hope I don't have to film this again another way. Finding that angle was difficult enough. But you might be able to see this bracket and the holes for where the feet for this go are longer than the space that I'm going to have to play with in this bit of lip here. And there'll be another problem if I show you. That space becomes even smaller when the boot is open. And I can't afford, whilst a lot of the Max Power and Showcar stuff might favour fashion over function, I can't afford to lose the access to the boot. Not because I put loads of stuff in here, but my garage is only a certain size. When I need to get in this car, this is typically the way that I get in. So what are we going to do about problem number one of many? Now I'm going to introduce problem number two. This is not a flat piece of metal to drill through. It's not even two flat pieces. There's a bit of flat here, and then we have a profiled edge where electrics, talks like that, run to the rear light, and I would imagine then also down to boot locking mechanisms and the lights for the number plate. If you see where the bracket would be in essence to in line with the spoiler, when I put that roughly middle, roughly at least, you will see where are those holes going to come out? Quite likely exactly where the bonnet hinges are. Oh, could we remove them? Not if we want to keep, the boot hinges. We can't remove them if we want to keep the boot. So we're going to have to navigate that. I was excited about this job after all the others I've done recently on this, I thought this would be the one where I won't need to be doing any fillering. So come over to the bench to have a look at like what some of the ideas are going to be. My initial plan, when I was looking at the bits that turned up, and I bought this Facebook Marketplace, thought it would be a bit more similar to the one I've already got, although this isn't even the finest Chinesium. Like, this metal doesn't even feel metally. However, my idea was possibly, if I cut it across here and ultimately make this shorter so the spoiler's not as high and this bit is narrower than this bit here, maybe I'll get away with that. And I've got some nice markings that match on both sides to be able to... Oh, I'll get that in a minute. To be able to drill the holes in the same space, make it symmetrical, make it all straight, make it work. However, slightly not confident about cutting this and it staying together. And also that I've worked out by placing it against the boot is still too long. So then what? I started looking at the feet, I suppose you could call these. They have a hole not in the middle. That is supposed to sit in there, and then you bolt it through, you tighten it all up, and then your adjustment lies in here for the angle of the spoiler. Now I think all of us will be honest about this. This isn't going to produce any downforce, it's going to produce drag at best. This is for what it looks like, and it's a front wheel drive car, so downforce at the back would be counterproductive anyway. So I'm happy with the idea, this is just for looks, so I need to come up with a plan. And this is where I'm at. I'm prouder of this than probably I should be, and it took me longer to get here than I would have liked. I know for a fact, if I'd have been here doing this without my brother, he would have come up with this idea to at least test a lot quicker than I did. I've put the feet straight onto the spoiler. Part of the view of this would be, I think 2 bolts will be more than enough to actually hold this thing in. It's a bit wobbly, so I'll need to put in washers or some rubber or whatever we've got in the drawers of magic over there. This is one of those moments I think there's going to be a piece of something that I kept for an occasion I might need it, and I might have had it for 10 years, and that occasion may be today. And I'll make sure to go and tell the missus that finally something came in handy that I kept for absolutely no apparent reason. I'll probably then remove these, because I don't think mounting it at the back makes the most sense. I want it to stick as back out of the car as possible for 2 reasons. What I plan to do with the end plates, and then also that will give me greater opening of the boot, which really the fundamental amount I need it to open is enough to get in there. And I think I can strengthen that enough that it won't move and tighten it enough that it won't move. So that, in essence, leaves me with only... Now, before anyone says it, just for the record, I did think about doing it with both, but it's still too long on the boot, and one of them will end up sort of... I don't want to use a swear word there. Wonky. Let's go with wonky. So that leaves me with only needing to drill 1 hole each side, possibly a bit more flexibility because the actual footprint of this is quite small, and I just need to consider that the front of this is not where the front of the boot is going to impact. It's going to be the spoiler on the roof when it opens. So I need to be able to place it as far back as possible, and just maybe I'll be able to get away with a full open without it impacting, because I know myself pretty well now, and one of those things that's good about self-awareness is being aware of your flaws. Memory, not my strongest suit, and if I open the boot and I forget that spoiler is going to impact the roof, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up with a line across the roof over time, maybe a bit akin to somebody who wears headphones and has quite voluminous hair and it leaves that dent, or even the people who have that dent left in their heads eventually. I worked with a guy like that once in a sales floor with an almost call centre. Anyway, we're distracted. Let's go and place this up. If anybody thinks I'm having an absolutely totally stupid idea here, let me know. but it may already be too late. Also, is anyone annoyed by the fact I haven't pulled the plastic off this yet? And should I save it as like a big satisfying moment at the end of the video? Should we actually manage to get this thing mounted? I tease you. Oh, I've got to get that guy who fell down there, haven't I? Ugh. For the record, this part is a refilm for only you guys watching this, which ultimately when I'm doing these things, I'm sharing my hobby. This is what I would be doing if I was videoing it or not. And maybe that deserves a bit of a like and a subscribe, perhaps. I'm just sharing what I do, hoping people enjoy it, hoping people can learn, maybe be entertained, or just follow along a build and get some ideas, get some inspiration. My favourite thing to hear is when someone's had a go at something, maybe slightly more constructive than this, because they felt more enabled to from watching a video. So yeah, consider subscribing. This is a redo for you guys, because the first angle I did this at failed horribly. Anyway, this is where we are with the spoiler. This is the general plan. You might be able to see better than me from there if this looks like it will impact when it's open. But this is what I think I'm going to be brave and try with. And the thing I've got, because that hole in these feet is off one side, I've got a choice of which way round I put them. So if the hole being further back makes more sense for the screw, because the metal here is like thinner to go through, more direct, or indeed doesn't impact the hinge, that's an option. Or I do it the other way, and maybe that little bit of flexibility helps. Now what I'm going for here, he says, is I'm going to try and hold it in place, open the boot. If it all moves around, I'll try and hold it back in place with the boot open. That might have been easier, Grant. Why didn't you do that first? And then we could see sort of the moment of truth. If this works, then all I've got to do is be very careful about what kind of end plates I make so that they won't actually hit the side of the car here. Just get a spoiler that fits, Grant. That would have been the sensible thing to do, for the record. This is really not meant for this. This is a hatchback, not a saloon. The spoiler is probably more for a saloon type car with an actual boot or trunk. But we've bought it now. It was the cheapest one. We're trying to build this as cheap as possible. We're going to have to make some stuff work and some stuff fit, and recycle, reuse and repurpose some stuff. So it's moving already. Can back it up a bit. Hold it well enough. So I think we could just get away, well, certainly not with a full open, but get away with a good amount of open. So now I have to decide, is that good enough? And just start drilling some holes. I would say that's the point of no return. We could always fill them again, but I'd rather not. It's thinking time for me. I'll get back to you soon. In theory, I think I've sussed it. So, using some bits from the rest of it. Ignore the flimsiness of this. These might not be final. If I effectively mount it slightly back like that, we're in business. Because that is not any further than the front of those. That will definitely clear the roof. He says definitely. And that will work. Now, this exact design, if you like, depends very, very, very much on how tight I can get these, or whatever I put through here, these bolts, if you can see them, in order for it to hold it. Because what it wants to do, if I just hold the bracket, is lean back, which when it's driving as well, it will definitely want to do. And if I put any extra weight kind of on this bit, that's probably going to be larger here. If you imagine what I might be going for, that's going to even add to that more and more. So that's going to have to be super tight. Now, I do know you can get things like these really, really tight, because the one on the Boxster is very, very tight. And I just went and checked it again to sanity check myself. And I think worst case, I would need to do, if I lift this up a little so you can see, I need to create a piece somehow that is this shape, because that part is quite happy to be as low. And the bit that changes its angle is just the back part. Whereas if there was a bracing piece connected to that, it wouldn't be able to do that. And then possibly as well, I can have some flexibility on whether I mount that into the foot, next to the spoiler, all sorts of stuff like that, as long as I navigate how big these bolts are here. So I could either shave them down, or I could make a little cutout in it, imagining it's a metal piece. And potentially, if I need to do that, I can do that with the Chinesium. I'd rather not do that, the Chinesium piece, because I know it fits perfectly into here and stuff like that. I'd rather not do that, because that's a lot of work and a lot of measuring and a lot of testing. I'm not against that, but if I don't need to do it, I don't need to do it. So I think realistically, I need to... Really, I want to screw these in and then mount these, tighten these as much as I can to see if it's going to hold. But if I make a middle piece, that will throw off where they might be. So what I might do is go and attach these to a piece of wood or something like that, that I can then weight down, tighten these, and use like washers and rubber as much as I can. If it doesn't move and I'm happy with it, then I'll come and drill the holes in the car. And if it does move, then I go and make that additional piece. That's logic, isn't it? Logic, science, testing. I've genuinely not tested this yet. I have bolted up, you would have seen in the time lapse. I'm not sure how much detail it captured yet. I've bolted them to this piece of wood. I've simulated some weight of the car over here. I did get that. I mean, I eyeballed a lot of this, so I got that hole wrong, had to move that. You would have seen that. We include our work in here. We show the mistakes. I've done these up pretty tight on the spoiler itself. Not as crazy tight as possibly I could do as well. Just as a bit of a, if my theory works, then maybe it doesn't even have to be all that tight. Now what we're trying to make sure we can see is, does the spoiler, this is the front facing forwards, does it try and do this too easily? Because that's our problem with only mounting it there. And this is as close to the setup as the car as possible. Now this might not be the same angle as what the car is, but when I've lined it up, this middle piece here sits as bottom out as it can on the foot, which is how it is now, and then as topped out on the spoiler, so I can replicate that easily enough. I don't need to worry about the angles. Oh, can just about tilt it back, so that would stand to reason. If I can tighten that a bit more and then not tilt it back, this might be a success. This actually maybe has gone better than I thought, although getting in and tightening that is not gonna be so easy, because it never is. Annoyingly, I'd be able to do that on the car because you can go up from that way. Can't do that on the wood. So we have to loosen these ones, push forward, loosen it back. I don't think I'll make you sit through all of that. What I'm going to do, just so you know what I'm doing, loosen these ones so I can turn it over, tighten this because that's where the bend is happening. The angle, and then retighten the front ones, and I'll put you back on normal video when I try again. Not so convinced I need to tighten those ones for the sake of the test we're doing, because they can't go anywhere because gravity. It's on our side this time, it's partly. So flipped it over, retightened them. I wonder if actually the Chinesium alloy is coming into some help here, because I feel like I can crush it as I'm tightening up those bolts, which is probably working to our benefit. Right, can I tilt it back? Oh, yeah, still. But I think that's definitely enough that it would be able to hold itself. Let's give it one more tighten and then see how we're doing. Do this one live. Eventually we are just going to dent the metal and pinch it. I probably should have put some washers in here actually. Give it a flat and fair chance. So if this doesn't work, then I might put some washers in and then crush those in there. I didn't do these up tight at all. But eventually, I mean, it's not like the car can generate a ton of force. Yeah, so that's all right. Let's put some washers in. But I think we can get that tight enough that I'm not going to be concerned about it flicking backwards even when we stick some weight on here. Happy with that?
Just wanted to share this as I've got it apart while I put the washers in, which I'm not bothering to film. If this will focus, can you see that the screw was able to push all the way in? That's not just because I'm a really tough guy. This is just because this is very soft, sort of weird metal. But we're not using all the hardware that came with it, so we have spares. If you can see the indent, hopefully. Didn't take a lot of force to do that. Let's swap them over. The correct thing to do with this sort of project, you've heard it many times before, measure twice, cut once, let's not get it wrong, measure a few times. You want to make sure you do something like this properly because we're about to kind of enter the point of semi-no return. It's not going to be critically over, but getting this bit in the right place will prevent us having to do other holes and then potentially having other bits we need to fill. Yes, my position has slightly changed. I wanted to make sure that I'm, giving the impression on YouTube I'm tall, dark and handsome, which I definitely am. This is actually a larger than usual Ford Focus, we'll pretend. Not that I'm having to stand on a stool to get like good purchase to see, but I've done my measurements. No return time. Just before I start, for anyone who gets too upset, I'm only using the Christmas tree bit because it has the least wanting to travel. I don't have one of those punches to put like the little indent. It doesn't seem to want to travel, so I use it to get the hole started before I put an actual drill bit in. Just find it's a lot cleaner and a lot easier. And also, before I drill this, you might notice it's a bit lighter in here. I've had a good friend come over today and sort me out by helping install some extra lights in here. So, will anybody be prepared to drop a comment and show Charlotte some love and thank her for the fact that generally in the future the videos will be better lit? That would be a solid. So let's drill some holes. No return time. Let's be brave. Just let that take its time to go through. Means everything's going to be a lot happier, and then it doesn't want to wander off and walk and change its position. And I'll just do the same with this one. He says it's easier. I feel like it doesn't matter. All of a sudden, let's get a drill bit, make these holes a bit more holy, and there's a little bit of hit and hope and see where it comes through on the other end, I'm not going to lie. Let's see where we end up. Alright, as you could see, the drill eventually went through. I didn't film it all because I was like, I better check where it's coming out, and I was actually wondering for a second, is there like a reinforcement plate maybe behind the under skin for where the hinges go on this. I think I'm quite happy to just open it, but I'm slightly worried it will fall out. So maybe just see where the hole is. I promise you I've not looked yet. I don't do this for just YouTube. I just thought if this has really buggered something up, it'll be quite funny to share it maybe. Hello. So it's right in the corner. Can you see that on the camera? I can't see from here. I will check. Forgive us. Oh, not really. Okay. Let's take you with me. Work Steven Spielberg would be proud of there. So this is where it's come through. Not ideal, but all truth told and every sort of end of the day, all of that stuff. For where the spoiler needs to sit, this will be able to do. So as long as we find a bolt long enough, I will make this hole a bit bigger, but as long as we find a bolt large enough, and we can get it tight enough, I think we're going to be okay. So I'm going to do the same the other side. And I'm going to wind them out. I'm not going to bother filming that. It will take a while. I'm going to be patient. And you can imagine, use your imagination. We're drilling holes and bigger in holes. Bigger in. So what I've done is, just in case I choose to not use the bit that I just filmed, because it ended up being a lot longer than I planned it to be. So if you're seeing this bit, I didn't use that bit. I have put the brackets that hold the spoiler through the holes that we drilled and widened and biggened. I have put the bolt through, got it to come out the other end. It took me quite a while to wiggle that. We've got 2 pieces of metal that we've gone through, bear in mind. So it finding its place, and I can't touch that end of it because that's the surface it's going through is inside the double skinned part. So I got them in place, put up the spoiler. These needed a slight bit of angling just to be right. I hadn't put them in quite straight when I first tightened it up. So I've checked it, spoiler fits, and I'm going to just tighten these down and attach the spoiler, which obviously has no end plates yet. So maybe we're going to do something interesting rather than just problem solving because I bought the wrong kind of spoiler because it was the cheapest spoiler. For anybody keeping tabs on cost, metal is not cheap, sheet metal, which is why this blue metal is being used. This came out of my metal bin, where I keep random bits of metal in case I ever need them. And these were actually the pieces of metal that was the original top skin of my BMW E36 bonnet, which I thought I might need one day. 7 years later, well, guess who was right?
You'd have seen me working away. I cut the shape out from the cardboard stencil. I then cut a second shape out from that. I then used the grinder very patiently. I don't know how long the time lapse will compress it to make both of them the same shape. And then maybe this is helpful as an idea for other people to help find holes in like one side of something. What I did was attach the actual end of these that have the holes pre-drilled, held this up against it, drew the shape of that, took the other one, marked where the holes should be, made little holes first. You would have seen, I think in the last footage, me going backwards and forwards, and then made the holes bigger and bigger and bigger until they were the right shape. And these are the end plates. These are not tightened down yet. I do expect they'll wobble. Oh, maybe. Okay, that one sounds like a terrible snare drum. I will tighten them down. I need to probably do something about at least like the edges in terms of like make them a bit smoother. I'll probably use the hand file rather than the grinder so I don't take off too much metal. I just want to check, are we in somewhere like the right position? I haven't opened it yet. I think the way that the boot lifts, we should be good. So we'll try not to dent the cut. Should we just send it? Oh. I'm happy with that. So I do need to ask for some help. I was been thinking about this as I was doing it. It makes perfect sense how you might wrap the face of that and then you tuck it round. How do you wrap both sides of something? As in, where does it fold over? Because I would have edges I wouldn't want. Any ideas? Does anyone know how to wrap and can give me tips? I need to collect these as I go. I've got a while to encounter it. I've still got something to do. There. Oh, actually, that's not a whole lot. I might be wrapping it sooner than we think, but if anyone could advise me on at least the theory of how that would work, because I'm a bit stumped, actually. Or do I wrap both and you just cut it really? No, that won't work. I don't know. Anyway, anyone who can help with that, yes, please. So realistically, the spoiler is done. I'm going to file these off with the hand file, as I say. I think if I just clean these, they should wrap okay. I don't think I'll need to worry too much. I'll maybe just sand out some of the scratches and just drop a little bit of clear coat on it or something, just to make it relatively smooth, so it will wrap. And I think there's not really more that's going to be worth showing. I think you've got the idea. I've made I've customized the spoiler and I've made it fit, even though the shape of the thing is not perfect. So I think I need to give people at home the payoff of pulling off that plastic. But then I'm also thinking, should I just leave it on there? Because it'd be one less thing I have to clean when I wrap it. Will I peel it off? I think if you watched this far, you deserve to see it peeled off. That's the ASMR people. I may need to do that bit. Go around where the brackets are later. Oh, this has not been nearly as satisfying as I was hoping it was going to be. Come on, you. Where are you at the front? Today was not the day to cut the nails. There we go. Man, that is on there. Good thing I'm such a tough guy. And there's my workout for the week. You've missed a bit. Very, very thankful. Apart from maybe going and being a little bit perfectionist and filling that. Do a job we didn't have to use filler. That's nice. I really hope somebody is enjoying me watching me do this. If anybody enjoyed that, even slightly, you just drop a thumbs up in the comment or like the video. I'm going to pretend that went straight in the bin. I'm actually glad it didn't, because I haven't yet put a new bin bag in there. Oh. Man, actually struggling with plastic now. It's pretty late. I'm exhausted. I'm going to just go and cut around the edge of that bracket and pull the rest of it off. If you enjoyed that video, please consider subscribing. If you watched this far, hopefully you want to see the rest of the build. That is a non-fitting £30 spoiler that's customized to the look of the car that I want to add. If you did enjoy that, tell us you did in the comment. You can help out the channel just by interacting with the video in some way. It's very much appreciated. And, well, I've already got some more parts. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.